Okay, you guys, for our final exercise from Chapter 10, and for this semester for that matter, we're going to look at exercise 10:16. And I'm sorry it worked out in 10 where I really didn't have any homework assignments for you because it was hard to find, or difficult to find similar problems to have you do for homework. But just practice these. You know, you should do well on the final. You'll have some problems like these, of course, on your final. All right, let's read through 10:16. Charlie Company is trying to decide whether to make a needed component part or buy it from an outside party. It tells Charlie Company needs 20,000 units of a certain part to use in its production cycle. The following information is available. Okay, here's what it's going to cost Charlie to make the part. Or what it would cost them to make the part would be relevant to our decision. If you come on down, it says cost to buy the part from Delta Company, $36. Okay. If Charlie buys a part from Delta instead of making it, Charlie could not use the released facilities in another manufacturing activity. Meaning the room that's freed up by buying the part from an outside party couldn't be put to a productive use in some other fashion. So 80% of the fixed factory overhead applied will continue regardless of what decision Charlie makes. So what they're saying is, of that fixed factory overhead, 80% of that is going to remain whether Charlie makes the product in-house or buys it from an outside party. So only 20% of that cost is actually relevant to our decision. It's the part that could be avoided if they bought the component part from Delta. So our relevant cost per unit, we'll start with direct materials. It's a definite cost that would increase if we made the part as compared to buying it from an outside party. $4 there. Okay, direct labor. There we have $16. Both of those costs are going to be present if we make the product in-house. Our variable overhead will be present if we make the product in-house. Variable costs are always relevant to the decision. And fixed factory overhead. Well, the only relevant portion here is the portion that would disappear if we bought the component part from the outside party, in this case Delta Company. So they're saying our fixed factory overhead of $6, 80% of that's going to be present whether we make the product in-house or buy it from Delta. So if we buy it from Delta, 20% of that can be avoided. So there we go. What we're looking at, relevant cost per unit. These are costs that we would not have if we bought the part from an outside party. So let's sum those. $33.20 of cost could be avoided if we bought the product from an outside party. Okay, so if that price is above what the outside party is asking for the component part, let's say they're only asking $30, then we would save $3.20 per unit by buying the component part from the outside party, in this case Delta. But here Delta is offering to sell us the component part for $36. I hope it makes sense why only 20% of this cost, only 20% of the $6 was relevant to the decision here. That's the amount of the fixed factory overhead that would go away if we bought the part from an outside party. The other 80% is going to remain no matter what. Since we have to pay it anyway, something like rent on the manufacturing facility, it shouldn't factor into our decision as to whether to make the component part or buy it from an outside party. So our make it in-house price is $33. Buy it from a third party price is $36. So number 2 asks what decisions should Charlie make? Easy for me to say. Okay, so what are we trying to say here? Well, the cost that could be avoided if we bought the part from Delta Company are $33.20. But to buy it from Delta Company, we'd have to pay $36. So the part should be made by Charlie because its avoidable cost, if it buys a part, are only $33.20. And its cost to buy from Delta are $36. Let me correct that. So I'm going to go on to say Charlie Company will realize a savings of $2.80 per part by producing the component part in-house. And that's the difference in the $36 purchase price versus the $33 make in-house. Okay, hope that one makes sense, and good luck practicing these for the final. You have a couple of homework problems from Chapter 9 that are due. I believe I set that up for, I believe it was the 8th, the 7th or the 8th. You can check that on your Moodle site. But really only 2 problems due for homework from Chapters 9 and 10. Mainly at home you just need to practice these problems to be ready for your final, which will be available December 9th through the 15th on the Moodle site. Thanks a lot.